Great. Well, in Washington this week, we've watched an extraordinary discussion about gun control, with President Donald Trump coming out in favor of expanded background checks and raising the minimum purchasing age for rifles and long guns from 18 to 21. What specific state-level measures, including expanded background checks, a ban on assault weapons and high-capacity magazines, and gun violence restraining orders, do you support or oppose, and why? Starting with Senator Wagner.
Jan, currently we have background checks in Pennsylvania, and as governor, I would want to know whether every I is being dotted and every T is being crossed. We saw 2 weeks ago that the FBI received tips in Florida. They didn't follow up on the tips. There's many flaws in the system, but I want to know, are the current regulations and the checks that are in place being done as according to protocol? We currently have over 153,000 regulations in Pennsylvania. We have 204 regulations on ladders. But I would want to know, is every application being scrutinized to the fullest to make sure that the person that is applying for the purchase or transfer of a weapon is being completed correctly, and every I is being dotted and every T is being crossed?
All right, Ms. Ellsworth.
I watched Parkland through a mother's eyes, as did many people. And I cannot imagine my child going to school on Valentine's Day and never coming home. And so when I asked what would I do to correct that, the first thing I would do, my objective would be to protect our children now. Not 6 weeks from now, not 6 months from now. And so the things I would do to do that are the things we do to protect our adults. So think about where you go. You go to an office building with a swipe card. You go to a courthouse or a federal building or a football game and you walk through a metal detector. You go to a hotel to go up, you use a swipe card. I would put swipe cards and metal detectors in every school. And we will have a debate about guns in this country, but guns involve the Second Amendment. They actually involve 2 Second Amendments. We have a federal and a state. That is where the government is most restricted, as in any constitutional issue. I would take care of our children now, and I would not hold them hostage to that discussion. I would make them as safe as we make adults. I would have central reporting. I would prioritize school reporting, and I would report it to the schools.
Thank you. Mr. Mango.
You know, Jan, what happened in Florida was a tragedy. Dawn and I do have 5 daughters. One of them is age 14. She's a freshman in high school, about the age of many of those children who were murdered in Florida. But I don't think we should automatically go to and equate the monster in Florida with those who are trying to exercise their Second Amendment rights here in Pennsylvania, peacefully. So I was actually in charge of the lives of many young men and women when I was an officer in the 82nd Airborne Division. And leaders anticipate the threats that face those in their charge, and they address those threats before they become realities. There are 4 things I would do as governor of Pennsylvania. 1, I would enhance the resources necessary to screen for and diagnose mental illness. 2, if diagnosed with mental illness, we would preclude that individual from getting his hands on firearms. 3, yes, every school district needs a security plan, but I wouldn't do a one-size-fits-all security plan. I would tailor the security plans to the threats and needs of each of those school districts. And 4, I'd make sure our law enforcement folks have the resources necessary to integrate the data to detect these types of threats.